Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Happy Sunday everyone. If you're new here, my name is Holly. I make food and fitness content, and today I'm going to be doing a little get ready with me, catch up, Q&A, spilling some tea. I asked you guys some questions on Instagram and you have provided some very juicy questions. I did one of these a while ago and I really enjoyed doing it, so I wanted to do a bit of a round two. A lot has changed in my life and I feel like these are also a really good way to catch up with you guys. So like I mentioned, I am going to be getting ready. I am actually heading off to get my driver's license picture retaken, so hopefully we're going to be coming out of this looking stunning, because my current picture is me in a school tie because I was 17. So hopefully this time around we're going to be looking a little bit better than we were the first time. I am going to be popping on all my products and I will talk you guys through some of them, but if you have any questions and if I miss anything because I'm talking too much, just feel free to put me a question in the comments box and I will come back to you with everything that I'm using. I'm going to go in and pop my eyebrows on first, so I'm going to be brushing them up with the Refi brow gel. I swap between this and the like got to be glued wax, but I feel like at the moment this is definitely a winner. I do also get my eyebrows HD browed. I feel like that was actually quite a common question in the Q&A, was like, what do I do with my eyebrows? So I get them HD browed, but honestly, like, look at the difference between that, like, come on. So that is the brows fluffed up. Right, let's just cut to the juicy questions first of all. So I think 85% of questions revolved around the same topic, and those questions were: have you and your boyfriend broken up? Why did you and Joey break up? And how are you dealing with your breakup? Also, I want to add, so many of these questions were accompanied by you guys asking how I am, and honestly, it's just melted my heart. It's the nicest thing to have such a supportive community, and I did touch on this on YouTube a few weeks back, and I've had so many lovely messages from you guys purely just reaching out to see if I'm okay, and it's so lovely. So in answer to the question, yes, me and Joey have broken up. We did decide to part ways a few weeks ago. Obviously, breaking up is a horrible thing. You don't get with people to break up with them. Like, that's not kind of what it is. You kind of envision staying with people, and it is tough. It's one of those things, I think it's so cliche, but like, time genuinely is the biggest healer in relationships, and I do feel like I'm in a better place now than I was a few weeks back. I feel like it was like a bit of a hurricane. I kind of spoke about my PCOS a lot and said how I was struggling with that, but I was also going through a breakup, so it just felt like a bit of a thunderstorm over my head, if that makes any sense, for a few weeks. But I definitely feel like I'm kind of coming out the other side of it now, and my main kind of thing was just that if I was going to do anything throughout the breakup, I was just going to focus on me, focus on myself, try and put my best foot forward, and really like drive into like work and my content and provide you guys with some really amazing content. And I think getting stuck in with work and keeping myself busy has really, really helped. I've also been going to see friends down in London and friends in Manchester a lot. And honestly, if you are going through a breakup, just keep yourself busy, surround yourself with people that love you, and I think doing that will just help you heal a lot faster as well. Obviously, the other question was kind of like, why did we break up? I hope you guys can kind of understand, but I'm not going to be delving into the reasons. I don't think that's a very respectful thing to do, and like I said, I'm just going to respect a level of privacy with the situation, and that is probably as much as I'm going to say on it. But yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot better, focusing on healing and just focusing on myself. Right, I'm just going to go in with my foundation. So the next question I got was, do you find the fitness industry to be toxic? So I think if you're kind of like referring to like fitness influencers and like the fitness kind of influencing industry, personally, I'm gonna say no. I genuinely think that like fitness influencers, when you meet them, are like the nicest people, and there's kind of different brackets of influencing is in there. There's like fashion influencers, kind of like reality TV stars who are influencers, and I personally, and I don't know if this is just because I'm biased, would say that like fitness influencers are like the nicest ones out there. I guess like our job is to kind of like motivate and kind of spread positivity and help other people. A lot of fitness influencers are personal trainers and their job is to like help people and like motivate people, so genuinely they end up being really nice people as well. So no, I would definitely say that the fitness industry isn't toxic. Also, I feel like as an industry on the whole, I think it's come such a long way. I think there's so much more the brands can do for representation of different races and different weight classes and disability, but I do think that it is moving in a more positive direction. Like I said, still loads that needs to be done and we're not there yet, but you can kind of see that it is moving in that way, which is really lovely to see. The next question was, would you ever move down to London? Which is funny that you ask that, because it is something that previously I never really would have considered. I always fancied myself like a Manchester girl, and don't get me wrong, like I absolutely love Manchester, but I think more and more recently, especially with kind of like going down to see friends, my head is kind of going that way. Like I said, I love Manchester, but I also kind of feel like I've done Manchester now. Like Manchester isn't the biggest city in the world, and there's just so much more to explore in London, and that's kind of like my drawing point at the moment. However, I don't think that's something that I'm going to be doing anytime soon. My biggest like put off with London is the fact that the rental prices are just ridiculous. Like it's so stupid. So in terms of like my job and kind of like having somewhere nice that I can film in and shoot nice like food videos for you guys in, Manchester's the best place to be. So I don't think it's going to be in the long run. However, I do kind of think mentally I've made the decision that when I'm older and I want to settle down, I do think that is something that I will do either down in London or down south. I don't think I will stay up in Manchester forever, but I definitely think I want to do at least another year after my rent next year. So basically like another like 18 months here. So somebody has asked, what was the scariest thing about starting influencing? So I kind of have spoken about this before, like my influencing like journey, but I kind of fell into influencing. It wasn't a job. What am I doing here? It wasn't something that I was always like, oh, I really want to be a fitness influencer, and I never made my page for that reason. I just kind of got really lucky and I caught a trend on TikTok and it started to take off, and I kind of followed that trend and built my platform from there, and then with that became, I guess, like a fitness and food influencer now, like I do. But I guess like the scariest thing about kind of taking the leap to becoming like a full-time influencer is that your income is like solely on your shoulders, and I think that really scared me. I also got really scared that I would get really like caught up in the numbers. So influencing is kind of like the only job in the world where everybody can see how well you're doing. Like everybody can see how many likes and the engagement on your post, and that is how brands essentially work out your value. There's a lot of different variations in it, but it's essentially to do with like your following, the amount of likes you get, the amount of comments you get, how many people are genuinely engaging with your post. Because if somebody's got like 1 million followers but they're only getting 100 likes, people aren't really seeing that content and they're not really engaging with it. So therefore the value that they would get paid per post is lower than somebody who's getting like 30,000 likes on a post. So in that way, I got scared that like I would also start to determine my value based on how well my posts were doing. And don't get me wrong, I have days where things don't do well and I take it really personally. But at the end of the day, I just need to remember that as long as I'm creating content that I feel like is adding value to you guys and helping you guys start your fitness journey, and I'm genuinely enjoying making it, that is all that matters to me. And that has kind of been like the core focus of my page. And I think as long as I can kind of align myself with that and not get too distracted by likes and comments and things like that, then I'm okay. I'll be fine. It is hard. You definitely go through phases where you get a bit caught up in it, but that was probably something that I was really scared about, was really kind of losing myself and losing my self-value based off how well my posts were doing. So I really like this question. Somebody said, what are your favorite brands to work with and why? So I feel really fortunate that like I work with such an amazing like kind of like roster of brands. Like there's quite a few that I work with and genuinely love every single brand that I work with. And I know that's such a boring answer, but I think the probably like top ones for me are, the first one that comes to mind is definitely Tala. So to work with Tala and to work with Grace, who was somebody that I followed for absolutely years, and to be Tala's first ever like fitness ambassador was honestly just like the biggest pinch me moment ever. I remember following Grace when she started Tala. I remember when they did their first drop, buying like my first pieces from the collection, and then to kind of like flash forward like a couple of years and to be in that position where I'm like a brand ambassador was just absolutely like mind-blowing. Also like the Tala team are just all incredibly lovely. So I feel like working with them was, yeah, that's probably like one of the biggest like highlights of my career. Aside from that, obviously I work with My Protein, who I absolutely love. Like I wanted to be a My Protein ambassador so much, so getting that role was, again, like one of the best things ever. I started to work with Fabletics, who are also a company that I absolutely adore. So I feel like there's so many and I don't want to miss any out and then have anyone be like, oh, I shouldn't mention us. But genuinely every single brand that I work with, I just absolutely love. And it's so weird sometimes. Like sometimes I have to sit there and be like, this is like actually happening. Like I'm actually working with these companies and it just still doesn't feel like normal. Like I don't take those things lightly. Like I don't take it lightly when I get asked to do like additional campaigns with Tala. Like I don't sit there and think like, oh, another bit of Tala work. Like, I'm like, oh my God, we're doing it again. Like it's never, I don't think it will ever feel normal. And yeah, I just feel extremely grateful to work with literally every single brand that I do work with. So somebody's asked, how is marathon training going? So I haven't actually started training for the marathon yet. That will be next year. So if anybody doesn't know, I'm running the Paris Marathon next spring, so next April. So I'm not going to start training for that until January. I'm currently just training up for a half marathon that I'm doing at the end of November, and that training's going really well. I feel really confident in my running now. I know how I like to train, I know how to get it done, so I'm confident that when the marathon training does come, I will be fine. Also, I'm running it with my dad, so we are keeping each other so accountable at the moment. Every single week he's like, kid, what runs are you doing? What runs are you doing today? Have you been running today? What time did you run? So it's really good to kind of like have him to sort of like bounce off and keep me motivated as well. There is two questions that I feel like tie in together quite perfectly here, because it's an example of why I personally don't agree with something anymore. So a lot of questions are you on the pill? I'm just trying to decide if it's right for me. Thoughts on the pill for contraception? And then somebody said, tell us something we don't know about you. So I was on the pill from the age of 14. I suffered with quite bad acne, so the pill was kind of a solution to that. However, 14 is obviously very young to be going on the pill. I was on the pill from the age of 14, I think, to like 21, which is a really, really long time. And I think the pill also adds in a lot of hormones to your body. I think potentially over shorter periods, fine. However, it got to the point where I was like, I don't know who I am without the pill. Like it could be affecting my sex drive, it could be affecting my hormones, it could be making me moodier, snappier, a bit sadder, but like I wouldn't know because I have been on it for so long. So I got to a point where I kind of realized that for me, the pill was actually making me a little bit crazy in the way that it just made my mood kind of switch like that. And I think, personally, my opinion on it now is that it doesn't agree with me. I don't agree with the pill. It doesn't agree with me. It's not something I would ever go back on. I now have the coil and I feel like the most mellow, chilled out person now compared to how I used to be on the pill, because I could go from 0 to 100 and like that is just not me now. Like I'm just not confrontational, I don't like arguing, and bless any of my ex-boyfriends that were with me during that time, because I was probably a little bit crazy. And a story that you guys don't know about me, to kind of like reiterate how crazy I used to feel, was, let me just grab my blush before I tell you this. So I was seeing a boy at university. Can I just reiterate, this was, I think, down to the hormones that the pill put me on. I would never do this now, like not in a million years. I was seeing this boy at university and I kind of got the inkling on a night out that like he'd disappeared to go and see someone else, and 0 to 100 just absolutely flipped. I obviously at that age I was like, I'm just gonna get more drunk because that'll make me feel better. I woke up and checked my phone call log. I had called this boy, I think it worked out 87 times. I called him 87 times. How was that even possible? I must have been sat there for an hour, like constantly ringing. But can I also just add, he was actually sleeping with someone else. So in hindsight, yes, I was a bit crazy, but I was right. That was probably a bit of a turning point for me, and I was like, I don't think this behaviour is normal. I think I should come off the pill and see if it mellows me out, and it did. So kind of glad that it happened. Not glad that my feelings got hurt, but kind of glad that it happened in the long run. I'm at that stage of doing makeup where you have pure like foundation lips. I really want to answer this one because I feel like it's a really important question, and somebody said tips when you don't know what to do with your future self, and somebody else had asked tips when you feel a bit lost in life. We are at, if you are my age, I'm just assuming that the majority of my followers are kind of aged between, I think it's like 22 and 27. We are at such a weird time in our lives. Like, I'm sure if you guys look around you, you've got friends that have got houses and are having babies, but you've also got friends that are newly single and like living their best life. It's really strange because sometimes it just seems so conflicting. Like, what are we meant to be doing? Are we meant to be settling down? Am I meant to be in the right career path? Am I meant to be saving for a house? Or am I meant to be making the most of my 20s? Like, I don't know. And I just want to say it's so okay not to know, and to try and enjoy that. That might sound strange, but it's something that I've really come to terms with recently. Enjoy the unexpected in life. It is almost so nice if you kind of change your point of view and just look at it as like, wow, this is so exciting. Like, I don't know what's next for me. And that is going to bring a whole new chapter with whole new people and whole new experiences. And that is so exciting. Rather than kind of looking at it in a negative way and feeling a bit kind of like scared, kind of like open up that feeling and invite in that feeling as excitement rather than worry. And it's definitely easier said than done. And I still go through times where I feel super scared because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I don't know. Like, my job right now is influencing and creating content on social media, but is that a sustainable career for the rest of my life? Probably not, no. Is it something I'm gonna do for the rest of my life? Probably not, no. So I'm also in this phase of life where I'm a bit like, okay, like, I'm gonna figure out what the next steps are and I'm gonna kind of see what I wanna do. But in order to figure out what you want to do, you have to experiment and try different things. So whether that means changing your career path if you're feeling a bit unhappy in the career and the job industry that you're in now, I just feel like these are the years to do that. And if you do it and it's a mistake, you will learn something from that mistake, and that lesson that you take from that mistake will help you move into the next chapter of your life. So it's not a regret and it's not necessarily a mistake, but it's a lesson that you've learned, and it's something that you needed to try to push you onto that next phase in your life. So I think it's one of those things when people kind of look and they say like, I feel a bit lost, it's sometimes because like you're afraid of trying something and failing. But if you're trying something, then you're not failing. I feel like I've just gone on a big spiel there, but this is something that I think about so often, and I feel lost sometimes and I don't really know the direction that I'm taking, but that is something that I'm now trying to like view as like exciting. Like, it's exciting that I don't have my path laid out for me. Like, if I knew what I was doing over the next 10 years, I'd personally find that very boring. So yeah, just kind of try and look at it with like different lenses on. I have literally, because I'm doing this on camera, I've missed out like 10 steps. Like, I've not filled in my eyebrows, I've not even put mascara on. I'm just getting very distracted here. Right, so we are coming to an end. I haven't really been like looking in the mirror, but I feel like it's gonna be fine for a driver's license picture. Just gonna pop some lipstick on, but somebody has asked me, what is your worst date story? So I can't remember if I've spoken about this one on social media yet. And it's kind of a date. So essentially, I'd been out for a few drinks with my friends at a university event, and I've been speaking to this boy on Tinder. Yes, I used to use Tinder, gross. I was speaking to this boy on Tinder, and I basically was like, listen, like, I had a bit of Dutch courage. I was like, let's go for a drink tonight. I don't know why I ever thought it was a very good idea. I was quite intoxicated at this point, definitely didn't need any more alcohol. I then was like, I need to go back to my uni house and change my clothes. I was like, I need to change my top because I'm literally wearing like netball kit. Said boy pops over to my house. I go to change my top. We go to leave the house. I lived in a university house. They have fire doors. I go to leave the room, pop my hand up on the wall. The door slams shut on my finger. So you can actually see it quite obviously at the moment because I don't have very long nails on. You can see the kind of scars around the side. The door slams on my finger. I was so drunk, I didn't even realise at this point there was just blood everywhere. The boy literally screams. And I was like, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I go and wash my hand. under the tap, the door has basically chipped off the top of my finger. Like it was like hanging off. It was a really deep cut. I had acrylic nails on, which later I learned basically saved my finger. If I hadn't have had acrylic nails on, it just would have been cut off completely. The top of it would have just sliced off. I then have to go to A&E. The boy comes with me. I don't know why at this point. He should have just run for the hills. The boy comes with me. We sit in A&E for hours. Eventually my wound gets like cleaned out, but it was actually my left engagement ring finger. And the NHS were basically like, oh yeah, you can come in for surgery in a few weeks, a week or two, but there's a really long waiting list. My dad was like, absolutely not. This is why we have health insurance. That is a really important finger. We need it to be saved, because at this point, they weren't sure whether they would have to remove the top of my finger. So my dad was like, you can't wait 2 weeks just to see if you're going to lose the top of your finger. Like, you need to go to someone who can actually save it. So here I go to this like hand specialist in the UK who manages to like sew the top of my finger back on, but they did actually have to remove the top of the bone because I chipped the top of the bone off with the door. And that is the story of the scar on my finger, which is actually incredible now to look at it and see that like it looks like that, and it could have been so much worse. Like, imagine your engagement ring photos. If I'd have chipped the top, it would have been so short. And for a while they were like, we're not sure if you'll ever get a nail back, but I'd say it looks pretty good as new. I've only lost like a small amount of height off of it. But yeah, that is definitely my worst date story, and luckily we're still here to tell the tale. So I am now ready. I'm gonna be heading off to get my driver's license picture. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Q&A. I feel like we've covered a whole range of topics today. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about makeup, because I know I've not been doing the most in-depth. She's popped some setting spray on. I know it's not been the most in-depth. I am actually thinking of doing a hair and makeup like properly updated tutorial potentially in a few weeks, because I have had a few questions on it. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and I will see you guys next week.